Hello and welcome back to my car. Today we are going to be doing another bookbang. As you can probably tell by the title of this video, today we're going to be talking about the more technical aspects of BookTube and also, I guess, some advice I have to people who are thinking about starting a BookTube channel. I am not an expert, but you guys have been asking me like what camera do you use, what mic do you use, and just like general tips for starting out. And since I've been doing this for a few months now and I feel like I kind of have the hang of things, well, I figured I would just tell you what I'm doing and maybe it will be helpful to you guys. I'm eating Wendy's because there's no Chick-fil-A by my work, and I'm filming this on my lunch break. So this is going to be separated into 3 different categories. What I have, kind of technical side. There's also going to be what I think that people starting out need. And then I'm going to get into kind of just like my advice. Things that I feel like would have been nice to know starting out, and why I feel like you should start out now. That sounded very fake. But the first category that we're going to be talking about is the technical side of things in terms of what I personally have. So I'm just going to list them. I'm also going to put links in the description to all of the things that I personally use to film. And then I'm going to tell you guys like what I actually think you need. The first thing that I got was lighting. I got 2 umbrella lights from Amazon, and I'm going to talk about pricing too because I want to be transparent with you guys. But I bought 2 umbrella lights from Amazon for $50. And these are what I use in the majority of my videos for lighting. I prefer the umbrella lights to box lights because I think they're easier to set up. In terms of camera, everybody asks. I have a Canon SL2, which is really similar to the Rebel line that most people know about, like the T8i, T6, whatever the fuck. The SL2 is a little cheaper. I think it comes in at like $650. The other parallel model in like the T5 line is probably like $850, and that's kind of steep. $650 is not cheap, and we'll get into the merits of like having a camera or not, but that's the camera that I personally use. I also have a different lens. All the Canon cameras come with a kit lens. I personally used that for the first couple of my videos. It looked great, it was fine, but I wanted a 24mm lens because I wanted background blur. It's $124 and you can get it shipped from Amazon Prime. I also have a microphone. I have 3 different microphones. The first microphone I got was my shotgun microphone, which is on my camera. It was $24 on Amazon, so if you have this kind of Canon camera or I think like a Nikon, this sort of microphone will attach. I also have a podcast microphone for when I do my sit-down videos / like podcast. If you've seen my podcast mic setup, all total, like with that rig and whatever, I'll put a picture right here of me talking with it. It was, I think, $100 like all together, but the actual microphone itself is $75, and I'll link all of those things down below, like all of the components if you wanted to know. And then I also have a ring light. I bought that most recently. It was about $100, but it's a really big ring light. I think they have different sizes, but that ring light was at about $100. It's really big. Like, you don't need a ring like that big. All of that babbling aside, we're going to talk about what I think you actually need. I have a lot of equipment, as you can probably tell, but that's just because I'm kind of an equipment junkie. I do not think that you need pretty much any of the stuff that I have, if I'm being completely honest and transparent with you guys, for a lot of reasons. I mean, just first as an example, if you watch Read with Cindy, she films on her iPhone, and I'm pretty sure that's all she uses. It's like an iPhone 7, and she has like almost 10K subs, and she's been doing this for a couple months. You really don't need fancy equipment to get by. I'll tell you what's going to help you get the best quality the quickest. So as you probably noticed, the first thing that I mentioned in what I bought and what I think is most important are lights. And this is going to be dependent on what sort of setup you have. I really do think that it doesn't matter if you have artificial lighting or not. I think that's the easiest and cheapest way to upgrade the look of your videos, because whether you film on a camera or an iPhone, the thing that matters the most is the visual component of it. As a corollary to that, I think you also need to think about what sort of setting you're going to be filming in. I think personally, to me, as you can tell, I like natural lighting. I don't have my ring light or my umbrella lights here. I like natural lighting the best. I think it is the most visually nice, but that's not always an option for everybody. So think about what time you're going to be filming. If you are a nighttime filmer and you can only film with artificial lighting, I personally would recommend getting a ring light. I think that those provide the brightest light, it's the easiest setup, and I just think it looks the nicest. I'm going to insert right here 2 pictures. My first podcast I did, I used umbrella lights only, and this was at night, was when we filmed, and that's what that looks like. And here is both umbrella lights and a ring light, although technically I think it would have looked similar had I just used a ring light. Also filmed at night, and this is what it looks like. So as you can see, the difference is pretty obvious. If you're going to be a nighttime filmer, you really should just get a ring light. I think that's going to be the easiest thing for you, and the thing that's going to make your quality just really, really improve. It's under $100. I mean, I know that's still an investment to make. I know that I come from a place of privilege in that I have all of this equipment and like I can afford to buy it. So I'm not recommending that you go and splash out on things. Like, I'm aware that these things are expensive, but I'm just saying, like, like if you were looking for things like cheaper ways to improve your quality, I think buying a ring light is really nice if you were going to film at night. If you are more of a daytime natural light filmer, but you've noticed that maybe you're getting some shadows and stuff that you don't love, I really recommend the umbrella lights. I personally use umbrella lights even if I film in natural light at my home, because I have a window coming in on one side, but it's not enough to balance on the other side, so I have shadows on this side of my face, and I don't like the way that looks. So having my umbrella lights popped up on either side and my natural light coming in, it's a really bright, well-lit room, and it looks really nice. So figure out what kind of setup you like. There's all types of booktubers out there, and you can tell pretty quickly who films at night with really bright ring lights and who films in the daytime with either no lights or slightly dimmer or different lights. So that's kind of my advice there. You don't really need both. I don't recommend getting both, but that's the first thing. Lighting is the most important thing, period, point blank. If you have to spend money on something, spend money on lights, invest in your lighting. So the next thing that I think you need are decent visuals, and like I said, this can be found on an iPhone. I've used my iPhone 10 for vlogging, and I can almost guarantee that none of you would know the difference. Doesn't matter, as long as you have like an iPhone 7 or later, you can definitely film on your iPhone. I know plenty of people that do, and it's not a big deal. I will say, if you get a camera, make sure that you know how to use it. And I don't mean that in like a condescending, bitchy way. I just didn't know how to use my fucking camera when I got it. And by that I mean, I got this new lens, and I was like, oh, there's gonna be background blur, that's what everybody said about this lens, and it didn't do that. And that's because I didn't know my camera settings. The biggest things that you need to know how to set are aperture and ISO. And that's another thing that people ask me about. How do you look so good in your car videos? I always look like trash. It's because you're not using manual settings when you were filming. If you're filming on a DSLR or like a big fat camera like I am, people just film in like the automatic filming mode and like auto brightness, and that's fine, like that works. But if you want to have the best visuals and you want the background blur, you need to change your aperture, I think, to the most open, and you need to change your ISO. I mean, just depending on like how dark it is. The ISO is really like the brightness. Right now I'm filming on ISO 200. If I was inside, I'd be filming on ISO 400 because it's dimmer inside. I'll link a video on how I changed my settings if you have this kind of camera and want to change your settings. Next, I would say good audio. And when I say good audio, this is the thing that I think is kind of the least important of all these three things that I'm mentioning, because it doesn't really matter. And I'm gonna put links in the fucking description so you can go and look at the different microphones and how they work. The cool thing about a shotgun mic as opposed to other kinds of mics is that the audio feeds into your camera, so whenever you take your memory card out and you put it in your laptop, the audio and the video are already synced up, which is so nice. Having to sync up audio and video is a pain in the ass. For every other type of microphone, you're gonna have to sync up the audio and the visual, so if you decide that you're gonna get a nice fancy podcast mic, you're gonna have to match up those things together. I'm pretty sure most of you are smart enough not to get this kind of microphone if you're just like a typical booktuber, but generally speaking, you don't need a fucking microphone. I have a really echoey bedroom and a really echoey apartment, and that's the whole reason that I got an external microphone, but you don't need one. I like my microphone, but microphones, I guess, but you really do not need them. I had a few questions about scheduling, like how do you schedule videos? How do you plan content? It's a whole thing. A lot of people do it this way, where they film on the weekend and then they edit and post throughout the week. And I think that's a fantastic way to do it, especially if you're starting out. But I'm just gonna let you know in advance, I don't fucking do that because I'm a lazy ass bitch. To be frank with you, that's just not how my creative process works. I am a very on the fly, spontaneous person. I've had this video idea that I'm filming right now for a while, but I didn't sit down and like really think it out and think about what I wanted to say until 30 minutes before I filmed. I'm also going to edit this video tonight and post it tomorrow. So that's what works for me, and I'm not saying that's gonna work for you, but I feel that spontaneity tends to make the video quality better. You could disagree, maybe this is shit, and you can tell me that in the comments below, but I find that spontaneity is what keeps me fresh and not second guessing my content, because I think that's where I know a lot of people struggle when they first start out, is like, I have filmed the same video 3 times and it's just like not happening for me. So yeah, spontaneity works best for me, but specifically I'll get into details. So what I do is, in my phone, and I would recommend it in your phone and not on a notebook, keep a running list of ideas that you're having. I have at least 20 video ideas at any given time just written down. Not details or anything, just like quick titles of videos that I would potentially make. And that way, whenever I am thinking about like what I want to actually develop into something, I've got a ton of different things to work with. Whether it's tags that people have tagged me in or original content ideas, I keep them in my notes section on my iPhone. And then I usually have about 5 video ideas that I have started developing. And by developing, I actually use Google Docs So I can have them on my phone if I'm in my car filming. I'm actually on Google Docs right now. I use Google Docs to develop like 3 to 5 ideas. I don't script my videos, as you can tell I'm just talking to you guys, but like it's nice to kind of know what you're going to talk about so you're not all over the place. I have like 3 to 5 of these sorts of things, 3 to 5 Google Docs at any given time for different video ideas that I have developed more. And that way, when I'm feeling spontaneous, I can hop in my car and just film. Like I don't have to think about it. If I'm filming one thing and it's just not going well, I can just scrap it and immediately move on. Because I think for a lot of people, you don't want to waste your time. You know, you only have like one day set aside for filming, and then that one video is not going well, but it's the only thing you had planned on filming. And like that's so frustrating. So I would highly, highly, highly recommend having multiple ideas going at once. I usually just do shit on the fly. And I know for a lot of people that's going to stress them the fuck out, and I get that. But I still think that my planning method would probably still work for you because, like I said, you can still cycle through ideas if you only have like one day to film and that one idea isn't working out. And then this is kind of like a technical thing, but not really. I would recommend, I have like not been eating this whole time, but like really, are we surprised? This is what I always do. Twitter is important. Like things you need to have. Twitter. I know it's not technical and I know it's not planning related, but you need a Twitter account. It's weird how important Twitter is. It's the #1 way that you can interact with like creators that are starting at the same time that you are or similar numbers as you, and also with creators that you look up to and admire. I didn't anticipate that going in, that Twitter would be such an integral part of my channel growth. People have discovered me through Twitter. A lot of people have discovered me through Twitter as opposed to through YouTube, like recommended or whatever. I actually think that's really smart because Twitter, while it isn't like a linear timeline, you know, people are more likely to see your content on Twitter than they are YouTube if they're not subscribed to you. When you're just starting out, your shit's not going to be recommended. Twitter is a really good resource for sharing your content, but also making friends. It's such an invaluable tool. You're missing out. Like, I really highly, highly, highly recommend it. If you take anything away from this, get a fucking Twitter account. I've met lifelong friends who will organically share my content. I don't have to tell them. They just like love me and want to share my stuff. And I genuinely, like, I know that's going to happen for you. Obviously, don't get a Twitter account hoping that people will share your content, but if you're putting out shit that you like and you're making friends, good things are going to happen, and Twitter is just a tool to do that. So get a Twitter account. It's a good time. Would recommend. Also, who doesn't love a good shit post? Now let's get into some of the intangibles. I think this is the part that was hardest for me to grasp. I had all the equipment and I thought I was going to do good shit and I thought it was all just going to be like sunshine and roses. But it wasn't. Here's some of the reasons why I think you should start and reasons that I think BookTube is so important. So the first one is that it is a scary thing to do, but you're not going to grow as a person if you don't do scary shit. Just period, point blank. You're not going to accomplish your goals. You're not going to get anything done if you don't do shit that scares you. Mental health aside, I'm not telling you to do shit that makes you anxious, but I am saying you're gonna grow and you're going to be so happy that you did things that you were scared of, no matter how scary it is at the beginning. And it's also going to change your confidence in ways that you really didn't anticipate. I think that was the biggest thing for me, is that you kind of know what you look like and you kind of know what you sound like, but not really. You've heard your voice recorded and you think it sounds awful, and you've seen pictures of yourself, and some pictures are good, some pictures are bad, but you don't know what you look like when you're talking to your friends, or like what expressions you make, or what you really look like turned to the side. Video is different. And for me, I gained so much confidence in editing videos because I know what I sound like now. I know what I look like. I'm also able to control my speech a little bit better. I had no idea that I said like and every 5 seconds until I started filming videos. Now I'm just kind of okay with myself. Zits, ugly voice, sick voice, like I know what I look like now. I know what I sound like, and I kind of don't give a shit. It's empowering. It really is. And that's something I didn't expect, and something that you can look forward to if you start making videos. Like, you'll just have confidence in yourself. I'm not saying you're gonna love everything about yourself, but it will probably increase your confidence a little bit. And that's not to say that it's just about looks and confidence in that way. It's also, you gain confidence because you have ultimate control over everything you do on BookTube. Obviously not subscriber count, but everything else you have control over. You control your content, what it sounds like, what it looks like, what you're gonna talk about, your mannerisms. Is it gonna be a scripted video? Is it gonna be kind of like a random fucking car video like me? And I don't know about you, but for me personally, my mental health does the best when I have at least one aspect of my life that I have control over. And why not make it something that you are genuinely passionate about? You know, I'm passionate about BookTube, and even when my job sucks or when my life's not going great, I know I have BookTube because I have control over it, you know? Like, I have control over how I interact with the community and the things that I post and the things that I put out there, and it's really empowering to know that, like, I'm doing this, you know? I'm just getting on my soapbox and getting cheesy, but genuinely it gives you a confidence that I did not expect. And then you don't realize how strong you are until you start. I think one of the biggest roadblocks, and I think one of the things that scared me, was the fact that most people make comparisons, right? Like, I make comparisons between myself and other creators, sometimes unknowingly. I'm like, why do they have more subscribers than me? Or why are they so much cooler than me? And I have a whole video on that if you want to see it. It's the first bookbang I ever did. But you start to realize that through knowing yourself, knowing what you look like, what you sound like, and creating the content that you're proud and excited about, that you don't have that comparison issue anymore. You learn to like not bemoan others' growth. You really have to like turn yourself inward, and I've personally found that when I focus on myself the most and focus on my content the most is when my channel and my life does the best. So I think that's a really cool thing, that when you start, you can look at it negatively, or you can look at it as a really cool thing that you can gain. I fucking love that. Like, I think that that's so cool that you can gain confidence and you can gain the ability to take a step back and realize that like other people are doing cool shit, but like you're doing cool shit too. And then I took my sweater off. And then the last thing, this isn't like, none of these are really tips. I thought these were gonna be tips, but they're more just like observations I've made. I'm hoping they're helpful in some way. But I also think it's really cool, and this is something I didn't expect, but maybe is a benefit that you might benefit from or might enjoy if you start BookTube. The ability to be friends with creators that you have looked up to. If you're not creating content, you feel like these people with like 100K plus subs, or any sub number really that you look up to, are kind of celebrities and they're like apart from you. But once you're in the community, you realize that like y'all are equals, and you can talk to people and you can reach out to people. And I know that's silly, but that has made such a big impact to me. Like, I have the two people that I look up to most, I have had real conversations with, which is crazy. I don't know how to put it into words. This is so different than my first bookbang. Wow, I was worried about like imitating them, and now I'm literally talking to them and asking them for advice. So I really didn't think that would happen to me. Like, I didn't think that I would get to talk to people that I was looking up to and whose content I admire. But like, you're on an even playing field, and you don't have to look at them differently because you are a part of the community now. Does that make sense? That's so cheesy. This whole thing is fucking cheesy. I like cheese. Do you like cheese? I like cheese. So I hope this wasn't super ranty, but really what I want you guys to take away from this is that you don't need fancy equipment. You're gonna get really cool things. You're gonna be confident, and you're gonna gain so much from joining this community. The only thing I regret is not starting sooner. It would have just like given me a creative outlet that I needed. So start now, because why the fuck not? I think a lot of people are gonna have lingering questions like, but isn't YouTube oversaturated? Like, I see so many booktubers starting every day. But here's the thing. Think about it like this. Back in the day, TV, you had to watch it at a certain time every day, right? Like, if there's a 7 p.m. Thursday time slot, there was only one TV show you could watch, no matter if you wanted to watch 3 TV shows at that time slot. You could only watch one. There's no DVR, there's nothing like that. Now we have Netflix. You can watch all of the fucking shows you want, and that's exactly what YouTube is. There can be a million creators, and that's perfect because there's so many personalities out there. We need you. The cool thing to know is that there are booktubers that are gonna be my favorites that haven't even created videos yet. Like, how fucking weird and awesome is that? There's a time for you to start, and that time is now. Hope this helped in some way. I know this is like really preachy and cheesy, but if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'm pretty sure I was like fairly clear about what I think you need. Fucking make a video, man. Make a video. But I love you guys, and talk to you next time.